Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Alright, today in the East Riding of Yorkshire we're looking at a place which we've already seen the southern counterpart for. That was South Dalton in the parish of Dalton Home. Well, today we're in its northern counterpart and I'm sat on a little picnic bench which is in a park, and there's a goal there with a football in it. Now, if you can remember my Lund episode and the Pollington episode, you'll know full well that I can't kick a ball straight at all. I'm going to try to see if I can kick it straight in this episode. Stay tuned to see if I actually manage it. This is North Dalton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. North Dalton is situated approximately 6 miles southwest of the town of Driffield and 8 miles northeast of the town of Pocklington in the East Riding of Yorkshire. Its counterpart, South Dalton, lies some 4.5 miles to the southeast with villages in between. North Dalton itself lies on the B1246 road. This is a pretty Wolds village, and although it's not very large, it still has plenty of character and a few buildings and landmarks which are well worth looking at. In 1892, the village was described as being large, well built and picturesquely situated in a deep valley on the Wolds. Most of that is still true, except the population has now declined somewhat. That said, it likely still gets some seasonal visitors, and why not, given its idyllic location. Here we have a self-catering holiday let, and you can be sure there's more than just this one here. Walking to the west as we are here along Main Street, the road will eventually turn to the left, but we'll be going to the right in order to catch the village hall. Originally, North Dalton was a self-supporting agricultural village, with farming being the only means of employment. Before World War II, it boasted enough amenities to sustain a small town. These included a church, 2 chapels, a school, 3 shops, a post office, 2 joiners, 2 tailors, a ladies' dressmaker, a cobbler, a slaughterhouse and butcher, a chippy, and 2 pubs. At the time of filming, all of that had been reduced to just a church. The school was the last thing to close in 1968, and now children attend school in Middleton on the Wolds. Approaching what is effectively the village centre, we come across this gorgeous white building. This is the former Centenary Methodist Chapel. Over the road is the former primary school, which was restored and enlarged in 1865 at a cost of about £100. It accommodated 125 children, but was only attended on average by 70. So to the village hall. This is available for hire and it has full disabled access. Amongst other things, it gets used for art classes, yoga, dances, music and all sorts of community events. Just before we go and explore the village hall's playground and see if I can indeed kick a ball straight, here's Wellgarth, named as such because North Dalton historically had some wells. One of them can still be clearly seen at the eastern end of the village, which is where we'll be ending. Now, about that football. Hallelujah, I can do it. The village hall is also the location of the North Dalton annual village fete, usually held in August, which features something called the Children's Olympics and a tug of war contest. Let's make for the church next, passing on the way the other side of the former school. The primary school had 2 classes, by the way, one for 5 to 7-year-olds and one for 7 to 11-year-olds. The church, dedicated to All Saints, was designated a Grade 2 listed building in 1966. An ancient stone edifice, it stands on an eminence near the centre of the village. The dedication to All Saints is indicative of a Saxon foundation, but the church dates from the Norman era and retains intact some of the work of its Norman builders. It consists of a chancel, a nave and a low western tower with battlements. The chancel was restored in the early English period when 3 lancet windows were inserted at the east end. Okay, next major landmark is kind of hidden in plain sight. It's right there. It's the War Memorial. I nearly didn't see that because I was too busy looking at the pond, which is also down here. The memorial was unveiled in 1920 and on it there are a total of 9 names. 8 are from World War I and there's 1 from World War II. In the centre of North Dalton there's a pond adjacent to one of its former pubs. I'll admit, when I drove into North Dalton I didn't see this. I don't quite know how, it's large enough. It's known as a mere in much the same way as others similar to it in the county we've seen before. The bus service for the village stops at it. You need the number 45 or the 145 to get here. The mere is surrounded on 3 sides by a dense bank of elm and sycamore. It's only ever been known to dry up once, and that was in the summer of 1826. Now for that former pub, and it's the Star Inn. This closed its doors in 2019, but it's about to get a new lease of life. It was bought in an online auction and will soon be back open again, fully transformed. Okay, next to go down South End. I thought it was South Street for a minute, I had to check that. South End, which will take us to Back Lane, and even though this village might look on the map like it's not a circular village because there doesn't appear to be a way back to the main street, there actually is because there's a footpath, so I can turn this into a big circle by going down here. Let's go. Heading down South End, we're met with this large white building which was the former shop and post office. Our route continues to the right and we're heading for Back Lane. Along here there are some more housing developments. I found a source online which I've linked below which states that developers are trying hard to increase the size of North Dalton once again. A few new houses have already been built here, but in general developers are wanting to build houses on seemingly every spare piece of land. Fortunately, the village is in a conservation area and the hope is that any more development will be limited. Coming from a village like this, I can tell you it's about the perfect size the way it is. There are some good memories of the village from former resident Rob Dixon, linked in the description below. He has a lot to say about the village and alludes to the new builds. In his opinion, the converted former farm buildings or the new builds on the now vacated farms have been done in a sympathetic manner and enhance rather than detract from the village. Okay, so I'm almost at the footpath I mentioned earlier. Now I've just come across a fantastic property. I think it's just a house. I don't think it's anything more than that behind these trees. I'm hopeful there's a better shot of this because it looks very interesting. It's almost church-like in its appearance. The property in question is Dalton House. From a distance, it looks like it has a church-like tower. That might just be me, but I've seen a lot of churches. There's a farm here too, but this is otherwise a dead end. This part of the village is very open, with some great views over the Wolds in places. Time to join Minster Way and head back to Main Street. Minster Way gets its name thanks to the 2 minsters it connects, those being York to the west and Beverley to the east. This is the first time we've encountered it, but it won't be the last. It crosses a lot of farmland and the chalk hills of the Yorkshire Wolds. Seemingly, it also crosses some otherwise private land too. This is one of those moments that you think to yourself, is this really a footpath? Because obviously it crosses somebody's land. But yeah, this is a footpath, this is Minster Way. Isn't this beautiful? Whoever keeps this nice and tidy deserves a medal. Brilliant. And we're back on Main Street, having completed the circle. For a shorter walk, you can walk around the back of the mere. The footpath there is known as the Walk by the locals. There really isn't much more to tell you now about North Dalton. We do have one more thing to look at though, and that would be the site of a former well. Remember earlier we saw Well Garth? Well, here we have one of North Dalton's most historic landmarks. This is the well at East End, used by villagers and farmers for the surrounding land. The well provided water for the villagers at this end of North Dalton, and presumably there was a similar well close to Well Garth for the western end. Villagers all had their own buckets. To end, we have a bench which has only recently been sited here at the well. This is in memory of 3 former village residents, Russell Dunn and Ida and Harry Wiley. Okay, and the well at East End marks the last point in the circular route around North Dalton, which means you guys need a picture bit. I'm really not sure what I'm going to put in this one because it's so small, but we'll see what I found. Here it comes right now. And there you have it. That's the parish of North Dalton in the East Riding of Yorkshire. I've got one more to do today and then 4 more to do tomorrow in this run of 10 in the East Riding of Yorkshire. So without further ado, I'm going to go off to my next one. This has been the parish of North Dalton, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.